we have, hi, there's a whole family there. Yay. Wow, so many people. Excellent. Hi, Dana. Hi, Madan. There she is. Hi, everybody. Hi, Q. I can only see the voice. Yay! Look at that. Hi, Jody. I don't see you, but I see your dot. Hi, Mercedes. Excellent. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give it 30 more seconds. Hi, everyone. Excellent. Okay. Everyone, I wanted to actually welcome you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the third ACS Virtual Wellness Series. I am super excited that the PTA Mental Health Committee has this amazing initiative, and I am thankful to all of them for helping us put that on. It is very important to our community, and so I want to thank Dana Allen, Miran Farah, Kristen Doherty, Rulana Gerard, and Rhea Asfour, our committee members of the PTA Mental Health Committee, and thank them for just making this happen for our community, especially in this time. A bit of housekeeping. So we would love to see your faces. If you can, turn your camera on, unless your hair's not combed, then you may not want to turn it on, whatever. Please mute your microphones during the conversation. Any questions, please put them in the chat. I'll be tracking them, and then we'll ask them at the end. And then we plan, as I said, to record this webinar, and we will share all three at the end of the week. We are re-recording a bit of the second series at the request of the presenters, so we'll put them all up at the same time. So with that, I would like to introduce Rhea Asfour, our PTA Mental Health Committee representative, who will tell you a little bit more about today. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvette. And again, we have to start off by saying a big thanks to you for helping us launch this really important wellness initiative. Welcome, everyone. My name is Rhea Asfour, and I am an ACS parent and a member of the PTA Mental Health Committee. We are committed to supporting mental health at ACS. Over the past 2 years, we've worked hard to create a buzz and meaningful conversations about mental health in our community. We've hosted expert panel discussions, sponsored mental health certifications for select members of our faculty, and we've collaborated with our school counselor team. As part of this 3-part ACS Virtual Wellness Series, we launched this in honor of the Mental Health Awareness Month and as an important initiative to connect with the community about their well-being at a very, very essential time. Our first conversation was about self-care. It took place on March 10th. It was with Dr. Khalid Kadri of the Maudsley Clinic. And on May 17th, we were joined by the Wellness Collective, Najis Ahwail, Susie Tarazian, and Mira Naaman, who advised us about movement, good nutrition, the mind and body connections for optimal mental health. If you missed any of these great conversations, they will be posted later this week, as Yvette mentioned, on the PTA website under the tab Community. Tonight's discussion is about reassuring, reframing, and empowering a holistic approach for mental health for children. I would like to welcome Laura Brannan and Micheline Foss, both experts in the field of mindfulness and both inspirations to our community. Micheline is our very own ACS middle school counselor. She piloted the middle school wellness class specifically designed to engage students in meaningful lessons around their physical, social, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Micheline is truly a wellness leader at our school. She supports parents positively with her monthly book clubs, and she's always providing us with valuable resources and food for thought in her counseling newsletters. Thank you for joining us, Micheline. I would like to also introduce Laura Brannan with Darkness into Light. Darkness into Light is a voluntary community initiative dedicated to improving the mental health and well-being of people living in UAE. Their mission is to spread mental health awareness, cultivate community support, and identify accessible and effective helping services for people in need. Laura is a shining light. She has a unique blend of spiritual learning, academic study, unconditional love, and psychotherapeutic humor. I have personally followed Laura all around Abu Dhabi, acquiring her many nuggets of mindful wisdom. We are so excited to welcome Laura back to ACS again. Thank you both, ladies, for leading us in our final wellness conversation tonight. Let's get started. I know that you have so much to share with us. We're really happy to welcome you. Mishleem, can I ask you to take it away?
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. What I'd like to do is just sort of get started. I'm going to grab the screen. I have it. I'll show it within the slides that I have, if that's all right, Yvette. I'm going to share the screen and
Micheline, do you have the latest version? That was all I was going to ask you. Do you have the latest version?
Oh, I don't know. I have the one that you. I don't know. I didn't know there was a later version.
Can I? So I will. Would you like to show that slide now, and then you can continue on? Is that okay?
Perfect. Go ahead. Why don't you show that, and then we can start from there. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if mine is the older version, we'll skip it.
Yes, because so many people filled out the survey at the very last minute that I wanted to share everyone's thoughts. So that is the slide, Micheline.
Awesome. Yeah, and so I think what we want to do is how are we feeling right now? And you can see there's a phenomenal level of variety there, from the positive end of the spectrum to the more difficult and negative end of the spectrum when it comes to the emotions that we're feeling. And so in thinking about how to frame the support and reassurance and empowering parents with their children and families at home, we wanted to kind of break this down into different areas that we imagine, and from the other two sessions, where would parents most benefit? What did parents want to hear about? And so the survey that we sent out was phenomenally helpful as well. And so what we want to do is we want to grab onto some of those positives as we move forward. And I'm going to steal the screen from you, Yvette. And move forward and hopefully have you end the evening with some ideas or with like renewed energy about taking on and moving forward. And so if you see, Yvette, let me know if you can see my screen.
Almost.
Okay. Is it there yet?
It says you're presenting.
Okay. Let me try that again. I love technology. It is so wonderful. I'm going to start that over again. Bear with me, folks. We're having technical difficulties.
Sometimes it will take time to log in.
Yeah. I just want to make sure. Sometimes it's good just to reboot.
All yes. Right. Let's see.
Okay. You seen that? It says moving forward to a new future.
Nope. Does anybody else see? No. Okay. Did you present the whole screen or a window?
Just a window.
Maybe you might.
I'm gonna try it again.
Do the whole screen.
Yeah, I will. Okay. I was just in a session today where we had 83 kids, so I know it can be done. All right. Now, are you able to see anything?
No. We are seeing that you are presenting, but we need to wait until what you are presenting is loading.
Yeah. All right. Well, the reason I like this, and it could just be my connection, because my connection was very weird to begin with. when I joined the group. And so I apologize for that.
Do you want to send? Okay.
Yeah, because I shared it with you, Yvette. I sent it to you earlier. So if you want to go, if you have that,
Yep.
I can, maybe you could present it for me. That would be awesome.
Yep. Pulling it up now.
You know, because I found this image to be so fitting.
Okay. You sent it to me earlier.
I can.
Yes, I see it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to try this with somebody's connection who perhaps is better than mine.
It's because I'm sitting in my office. That's why. Okay. Okay. Coming back to everyone and presenting now.
And I promise you, this is not my intention of stalling here.
Okay. Okay. It's not, you're not stalling. Yes. Okay. Share. Google Slides.
Here we go. All right. There you go. All right. And so when I was looking for images, this one for me it's the frame I think that we landed on, because it's this idea of moving forward to a new future. But if you notice, the person standing in the picture's feet are facing in the other direction. And what I've been hearing a lot of, and what I've been reading a lot of, is this conversation of when can we get back to the way things were. And that creates a lot of stress, because I need to get myself back to the way things were, when I'm not going to be able to get myself back to the way things were because we're in the future and it's different. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind as we go forward, whether it's in with your children or education or your job or, you know, every piece. We just thinking in forward momentum rather than trying to get back to something that really doesn't exist anymore. Next slide. Thank you. And so I made this look like it was a fancy quote. This is my quote. That really the piece of parenting that is so essential to remember is that we are all in uncharted waters. You can't find a parenting book of parenting through a pandemic. And what people can sometimes fall into is this trap of doing it right. How do I make sure that all of these things are met and my child is going to weather this the right way? And so I just want to reassure you and remind you that there's no rule book and there is no right way to do a pandemic. And really what we want to do is we want to look at those things that can empower and strengthen all of the good things that we have already, all of the skills and strategies that we already possess as parents, as we move through this incredibly disruptive time. So next slide, please. And there's your old word cloud, and we've got way more emotions now. Next slide. But then, so trying to maintain this positive idea. Yes, there's a lot of difficulty, and there's a lot that we will talk about, you know, what is the difference between the normal struggle of distress and what we're dealing with, just dealing with this new world of pandemic, and what is that compared to distress, and when should we be looking to get that professional help or be worried, right? But also within that, celebrating the new normal, looking at the things that have come out of this. There's so much learning that I see in the middle school that the kids have come away with, so much personal insight that parents are gaining, and a refinding of family dynamics that we had lost touch with. And so wanting to use that positive kind of mindset to move forward in thinking about as we're maintaining the awareness of the strengths and then the concerns, the issues, the things where we really do need to tune in and focus on. And so with that as a frame, I think what I'd like to do is freeze the presentation there and offer Laura a chance to talk about that difference between, or just how to best manage what is or where are the points of the difference between distress and stress at this time, and talking about the mental health aspect.
Okay, awesome. Can people see me, by the way?
Yes.
Can you see me? Okay, wonderful. Just before I get to those 3 questions, Ms. Celine, first of all, Rhea, thank you so much for your kind words. You always speak so kindly about me, so thank you so much. And just to everybody that's here, I really want to say how humbling it is for you to be here and take time out of your day to learn some new information that you can use to better your life. So just thank you so much for being here. It's a real honor to share space with you. Micheline, you're talking about kind of discerning the differences between the stress and fitting in around that. I'm going to pull back a little bit and remind people the power of perspective. You shared there a lot about kind of framing the language about moving to a new normal. And here's the thing, everybody. Every month is a new normal for you if you have children. Last year was an old normal. The year before that, before you lived in Abu Dhabi, there was a different normal to where you are at now. And it's reminding yourself that everything in life is temporary, and there's always been challenges in your own unique life and family's life. And guess what? You have overcome these challenges every time, and you will so during this particular unique situation. The stress, I'll just focus on the stress part. A lot of people have stress, and it's very disabling. It makes us very tired, it makes us irritable, and it makes us worry. And quite often it affects our parenting style, because when we are stressed, we don't parent our children the way that really aligns to our heart, and that can be difficult. So if you have stress and you've identified you've stress in your life, then this is now the prime opportunity for you to sit back and ask yourself, what do I need to learn? What do I need to change? What do I need to do so I can work with my stress to make sure that my parenting aligns to the truth of who I am? Is anybody there? I don't know. I can't see myself. I can't hear anything. Have I been just talking to myself for the last 5 minutes?
Off and get back in.
We can hear you. Everyone's muted.
Perfect. But you know, the thing is that it didn't take a pandemic to create stress in you. The pandemic for sure may have amplified your stress. But if you are a parent, to various degrees, you are working with a lot of emotional trauma of your own, a lot of disappointments, a lot of multitasking, a lot of people who need you all the time. And this is very, very difficult to live with, irrespective of a pandemic. So I wonder, can I don't know if this is part of how you do things, but can I open that to the floor if somebody would like to share their perspective on parent stress?
Does anyone want to share? Or maybe, yeah.
I'd like to add something, Laura. I think one of the stressors for the parents is they've been placed in a totally different role, because many of them have had to step in and, along with being parents, step into the teaching role or in the role of monitoring the kids in a very different way than they have. Usually it's, have you done your homework yet? And now it's sitting with them by the computer, especially the younger kids, and doing a lot more interactions on the daily basis with their academic part of their life.
Yeah. And 100% true, Jane. Like, parents went to sleep and woke up the next day and all of a sudden they had new 10 role descriptions to add to their list. And here's the thing, that when we find ourselves in a situation where we have to perform multiple roles at once, and roles that we may be unfamiliar with, we have a tendency to set unrealistic expectations for ourselves and the people around us. So this is where we have to pause and just identify, as me as a human, how many roles do I have to do today? Parenting, teaching, psychologist, fitness instructor, cook the dinner, clean. How many roles do I have to perform today? And actually become aware of them, and then reflect on a realistic goal or target that you can set for each one of them, knowing and accepting that patience is going to be your strongest virtue here, because you are not going to be able to become expert in all of those roles at once. And what's actually going to happen is, we're going to end up making a lot of mistakes. And I'm sure people have found that themselves, because with so many roles, you become overstretched, you become tired, you feel like you're not good enough, you feel like your kids are going to suffer academically, you feel like you're doing things wrong. And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, and I would definitely say that one of the pieces of advice that my favorite author, Lisa D'Amour, gave in one of the multitude of presentations she's done is that notion of the need to keep pushing forward. And we certainly have been conditioned in that, to just keep going and just get on to the next thing. And how important it is to go back to, as a parent, to trust your gut. And if it's not working, don't keep pushing forward. So especially with kids and younger kids, she was able to give parents permission to say, yeah, we're not doing that today. School, you need to run around, we need to take a break, I need to walk away, or whatever it is, because of that notion of, we get set in how it's supposed to be, or what I should be doing, at a time when nothing is the way it should be. So I need to go back and start reading my own cues and trusting my gut, and remembering that, everybody is functioning at this level. So that new future isn't going to be a future of catching up with others who are racing ahead of me. We're all in here and doing it in our own different ways. And so it would be coming together and moving forward together, but trusting our gut and being able to really fall back on taking that moment and being in the moment rather than where you think you should be.
For 100%. Here's the thing, like, in theory, we can talk about this and have a really good conversation, but people really struggle with being in the present moment. Mm-hmm. People really struggle with asking themselves the question, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, what is the worst that can happen if Johnny Joel doesn't do any schoolwork for 3 days? What is the worst that can happen if I prioritize 2 subjects and put a few more to the side? Like, we have a tendency to catastrophize and just focus on the worst possible scenario, when in actual fact, if we come back to the present moment, and if you sit down with yourself in your family home and ask yourself some very key questions. Are my children healthy? Are they happy? Done. If you get a yes for those 2 questions, you are rocking the parenting. And then anything after that should be mutually agreed milestones between you and your children.
Right, and I can imagine that, you know, for certain parents, you know, what you said is right on, and then I can hear the, yeah, but they have IB.
Yeah.
My kid hasn't been to class in 3 days for IB, and so then there is that pressure of, you know, yes, we have these external forces, but that's the piece of, okay, you know, having conversations with parents about communicating with the school, because we're all struggling and teachers are figuring it out and everything. Remembering that and trying to identify yourself as being part of a much bigger ongoing disruption, that what you're feeling there, if you ask the question, you never know where the flexibility might lie if you need it, right? And empowering ourselves to do that. Because, yeah, those two things, healthy and happy and safe, you know, are going to be really, really important. But then how do I get through with those certain external barriers?
For sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, go on, love.
No. It's just it's constant communication. It's speaking openly and honestly. You know, I'm freaking out right now as your mom because you're not doing this. Help me. Let's work this through, and not trying to just push through and fix it yourself. It's making sure you're not isolating yourself in those moments of distress.
For sure. And this is the power of and the value of these types of conversations that all of us should be having, because it shows parents that there's alternative ways of doing things. And my day job is in a school, okay? So I'm very aware of the academic environment. But here's the thing, you know, we can't bring the rules of one reality into another reality. It doesn't work like that. And we have to be mindful that in terms of IBs or anything like that, we can always reach our goals in a way that's unique to our own family. And we have to be really mindful that, is it me, the parent? Am I projecting my fear right now and I just call it Johnny Joe, onto my Johnny Joe, onto my beloved Johnny Joe? Am I projecting my fear onto him? Am I trying to meet my inner needs through my children? Am I trying to complete my fantasies about the life I could have had, but I didn't, and I'm putting that onto my child? Am I seeing my child as an extension of my own success? And these are all really big questions that we need to ask ourselves as parents, not just because of the pandemic, but in general, because when I'm here parenting my child, it's getting comfortable with accepting that there is multiple pathways of academic attainment. And especially now with the pandemic, you know, there are going to be you know, exceptions and leeway and understandings that would have never been there before. So it's my perspective, and for sure this may not be your perspective, but I really feel that for students going into further education, they're going to have it a lot easier to get in and be accepted than if they had to go through the conventional route without the pandemic.
Well, and I think that a point that you made, that idea, you know, at the start of this is this practicing our own self-awareness, because if there's one thing we know we do hand down to our kids, it's anxiety. And we know that that is something that can be contagious. It can be passed on. And so I think that piece of, and how difficult that is, what that requires, because I am, you know, we just outlined the multitude of roles that anyone can have in a moment now, that are way more than before, and the pressures of all those roles. But also, so where do I have the time to practice that self-awareness, to check in and say, you know, what am I afraid of? What is fueling this? A lot of the survey came back about the socialization and reintegrating kids, and kids being afraid to be, you know, social again. And then
Yeah.
how much, and in that, there's a huge amount of that as well, this notion, this awareness. How freaked out am I as a parent because my child will read that, my child will respond to that. And that piece of self-awareness is, it's massive, and it takes stillness to be able to have those thoughts and aha moments for ourselves. So how do we manage the stillness, especially in a house where we have lots of kids? I only
For
have
sure.
one. Lots of stillness.
You know, for sure. Yeah. Like I think,
So
like,
maybe we could talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think it's important for people to know that when I work with parents, I come from the perspective of conscious parenting. So if that's not your parenting style, please don't judge me, and thank you for your patience with me. The whole thing is, look, we've had ancestral trauma in all our families. There's nobody here that isn't carrying something from their own mother or father wound. Okay, so when we can accept that, there is no excuse not to practice your own self-awareness and your own self-care, because if you don't make time to heal yourself and grow yourself and work on yourself, then that trauma in some way is going to be passed on to the child. And you know, your children are learning from you. They're they mirror what you do. You're their role model for them. And you've had it really hard because you've become a parent and there's been no rule book, and you've made sacrifices, and everyone's told you what to do and what not to do. And you know, you might be working difficult jobs, you might be in a marriage or a relationship that you're not particularly happy with, but you stay, you know, for the sake of the children. And there's so many things as a human that you've had to do and power through just because you also carry the label of a parent. And it is recognizing that I too also deserve the love that I give to everybody else. And how do I learn to heal and grow so I can show up for my kids? Because here's the thing, like, who is showing up for your kids when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're worried? Who is showing up after a day of work and you come in home and all of a sudden you've got all these kids or all these voices coming at you, and you're already irritable and you're already tired, and all you just want is one evening off where no one's asking you, mommy, daddy? So like, who is showing up? And that's a really difficult question, because a lot of people won't like the answer to that.
Well, and I feel like a lot of us are still, I mean, one thing I know from what I remember of my parents is, you know, they were always in charge, and they never presented as being upset, confused. The emotion, they were the parents. And that was, and we had a very different relationship than kids have with us now, I would say. And so one of the things I think is really important is to check in, because culturally that will vary as well. But what I think really is working, or it can work, is if we want our children to be self-aware, to be able to manage emotions, strong emotions, then we do have to model that. And we don't want to be modeling how you shove your emotions aside and pretend that you're fine when you're not, because that's scarier for me as the parent, scary for the child too. Instead of naming how we're feeling and being allowed to have it so it passes and it doesn't come back again and around and around and around, and being able to, especially in this time, be able to say, I don't know. I don't know when we're going to be able to go and do this, and I'm upset too because I miss my friends. So, you know, and having open conversations at all the ages, I would say, because I think it is going to be the lesson that they can learn from us is it's okay to not be okay. I mean, what a powerful tool.
100%. And look, it's difficult because, like, I have so much empathy. Like, I well up even when I think about it. That, you know, for a lot of adults, they don't want to talk about mental health because, they may have their own perspective on it and their own judgment and value in relation to it, and to, then have conversations and be like, come on, you've got to be self-aware, and you've got to learn to say it's okay not to be okay. This can be very hard for people to take in, because you know what, they just want to send Johnny Joe off to college and pay their debts, and get out in the sun. They just want a nice, easy, smooth life. And here's the thing: if you are one of those parents who is not living a nice, easy, smooth life, it means that denying that mental health is important hasn't worked out for you. So let's take this opportunity to gently explore, and especially as a family. Like, I love doing family therapy, where everybody in the family recognizes, yo, mom, you've hurt me and I've hurt you. But rather than judge each other, what we want to learn is to understand each other and heal and communicate with each other going forward, because we're tired of having difficult conversations. We're tired of there always being arguing. We're tired of, name calling each other and doing all these different things that causes disharmony around the house. But for a lot of people, if you said, would you like to do family therapy? 99% of people will hike it out and run away. They'll be like, no, thank you. That sounds awful. But yet then they will repeat the same behaviors at home, expecting a different outcome. And of course, the outcome is more misery, more depression, more anxiety, more disharmony. And then that creates a lot of destructive, self-sabotaging behaviors. For some, not for all, of course.
So, Micheline, can I ask you a question about the questions that we asked, or how we move forward, and what suggestions you have from what people have given in the survey?
Definitely. I think that the things that the pieces that came up were, I'm just looking at my notes here. When you're thinking about the big emotions, there's a lot of volatility, it sounds like, at home. Emotions are up, down, or the concern that mine seems to be fine. I would say if there's no, like if you're checking in, and some kids are actually fine. They are doing well, and it's okay to be doing well during a pandemic. So I would also, take a second to make sure you're not looking, because you're feeling anxious, that you're looking for something that may not be there. But then also, kids who are acting out, and kids who are really being clingy. Lisa D'Amour just wrote another article and just talking about this intrinsic need that our kids do have to be physical. And if they aren't at school, and they aren't on the playground, and they aren't, piling onto each other, or in middle school, girls just leaning into each other, playing with each other's hair, the boys in the hallway just glomming on, you might be experiencing the outlet of that at home, which feels like a lot of emotion. And so looking for, one, if there's tension in that emotion, physical outlets and ways to exert that, whether it is through, the kneading of dough, to physical activity, if you have kids who like to be very physical workouts, exerting that tension, but also recognizing that the outlet is very important. So for little ones, it is important to recognize and be aware of your kids' needs, as far as what you might be seeing as emotion might be this buildup of a need for outlet. And it could be very positive. It doesn't necessarily, but it might come out as acting out. And so it is trying to step back without the fear and just be an observer to gauge, what is it that is needed here? Is it a connection? Is my kid an extrovert and feeling really disconnected and looking for that connection? Is it physical? Does my kid need to get his yayas out? That's what I used to say when I was a nanny. Just get your yayas out, run around, and then, you know, playing tag and being silly and bonding with your kid that way comes more naturally to some than others. And you don't have to be that, but there's certainly, I'm happy to share a list of funny things you can do, even if you are not that type of parent to, you know, want to get on the floor and roll around. But trying to step back and observe it. Yeah, all my resources are, I'll share my resource list with everyone afterwards for sure. It's just all these things. So that's the emotions and the physicality piece can often go hand in hand. And the other piece of it too is, you know, our kids manage and they have emotions, but at school and in daily life, it's really easy to be distracted so you can move on to the next thing. And if we have the situation where we have a lot of downtime, our thinkers will overthink, the brains will fill in the gaps with things that aren't helpful. They have to work harder to be distracted. And so that's real. And that does take more conscious effort on everyone's part. And that, you know, as they get older, can be a two-way conversation. I notice that you start to get the weekends, you start to kind of escalate and you get stressed, or you become more anxious, or you become more antsy, or you seem to pick on me more. And there could be because there's more downtime. So let's generate our, you know, our brainstorm list of things you can do when, and just have that posted, because making sure that things are posted, because in those moments, my creative juices are gone. So I need to be able to just look at the list and go to, you know, the seventh thing down because that interests me. Things like that. The other piece that has come through time and time and again for both parents and children is schedule. Maintaining a structured schedule with, as they get older again, their input. If you put this on them, then you're just creating, you know, a cage match at home that nobody can escape. It's sitting down. We need to structure your time. Help me with this. I want this. You want this. Let's make sure we get it in there. Post it. Because again, I believe it's my favorite author said, this takes away the question of what should I do? This takes away the anxiety of not knowing, because now I have this to-do list. I have this daily schedule. I have these ideas on the board of things I can do when. And I think the more we can look at offering all age groups, these just lists of ideas ourselves, you know, what can I do when I'm feeling this way? I think that takes away the need to constantly feel like we have to be creative and think about it, or, you know, figure something out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sorry.
But I'm inspired by all your quotes. Deepak Chopra, a great spiritual philosopher and one of Oprah Winfrey's best friends, he would tell his kids, it's okay to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is a sentence that might just blow people's minds. Go, what? You mean it's okay for my kids to fail? Yeah. This is how the actual psychology works, that if you actually give your child permission to fail, and they can see that you will love them unconditionally, irrespective of the grade that they get or how they do, that they will intrinsically become motivated to actually work and achieve according to what they want. And it's human nature. We want to succeed. So it will kick in. So it may take trial and error. You know, your child might fail the first couple of exams as like, oh, I don't have to study or whatever it might be. But it's being with that child through that journey and saying, I am not going to judge how much I love you by the grade you have, your IB scores, the college you get into. I'm going to judge you because you're my flesh and blood. And together, we will find a way that suits you to achieve your goals. And parallel to that, then we bring in a bit of Gary V, and we remember that our children will have their own unique mind, and what they want for their lives might be so different to us. So then how do we deal with that? You know, how do we deal when our children have a different value to us, or have a different career that they want to do? Or, you know, maybe they don't want to go to college and put themselves 50,000 in debt from day one. Maybe they'd prefer to take some of that money and go traveling around the world. You know, when do we sit down and ask our children, what do you want, and be okay to take on their answer and see how you can achieve it? And just in particular with the behaviors, look, because we're all living in close proximity together, certain behaviors are going to be amplified just because of the proximity rather than there being a deeper underlying issue. So just be mindful between the difference of, you know, a pattern of something compared to like a once off, or that it's clear that this is out of character for your child, but you can talk to your child and work out what or why it's there. Quite often, you know, the deepest psychological injuries, loneliness, rejection, rumination, overthinking, are ones that we carry in silence. So, you know, if you're a bit unsure and you think your child might be having a couple of them to mild degrees, this is again where you sit down with them and you create that space to have a conversation, and be prepared that they might reject you and go, Mom, Dad, wow, this is weird. I'm not having this conversation with you. Like, get away. And it's been able to take that rejection and not react, but go, no worries, Johnny Joe, I just wanted you to know that I love you and I'm here if you want to talk. And then leave. Then come back the next day. And then come back the day after that until you have a conversation where you truly feel satisfied that you know what's going on with your child. And also, you know, just in terms of kind of the language we use when we're talking to our children, especially at home, you know, it's just about reframing. Instead of saying, be quiet, you can say, through gritted teeth and deep breaths, Johnny Joe, can you speak with a softer voice, please? You know, so there's all of these little techniques that you can use, you know, but again, it's just up to your own style. It's up to your own parenting at home.
So there is one question in the chat, and then I'm gonna ask Rhea to actually ask we have favorite questions we try to ask at the end, because we're getting closer to time. Like, I can't believe it's 5:50 and we've had such a wonderful conversation. I feel like we could do this for much longer and for, you know, with many more people. We have a question from Mercedes. What do you do when your teen doesn't want to create a routine or a schedule? Yeah, welcome to my 10th graders world. Go ahead.
I think there are a couple things, because you get into, especially with, depending on how they're doing. If they don't need a routine, then don't climb that mountain. If they are, you know, but if you're concerned that, then I think it is multiple different conversations and never in the heat of emotion. But if you feel like this is something I need us to try, right? We've done a lot of things. We've had a lot of, I need us to try it. Then I would look to say, you know, this is what I need us to try. I've tried it your way. Now I need us to try to create a routine. I want to know what you want to do. And then they push back and you walk away, just like Laura was saying. But then you come back and you're like, no, you know what? We really need to sit down. Here are the things I want to see in here. This is my list. And I'd love to see what you want in there. And if they don't have buy-in, say, okay. And then now we're in the really little kids sort of way of managing things, of saying, well, okay, you have a choice. You can give me your feedback, which means then it's probably going to be more along the lines of what you want to do, or I can create it for you. Right? Because the idea of power and choice, you're telling me what to do. As a parent, when you tell me what to do, I automatically want to shut you down because I want to make my own voice and I don't want you to tell me what to do. But if you can find little ways to kind of do, like when you have a little, you know, the little ones, the 2-year-olds who, well, you don't want to eat dinner. Well, you can sit and eat dinner, or you can go to bed. I mean, there's your choice. And they're like, a lot. It's just trying to limit the choices, but making it pretty compelling to follow yours. And I think that it's a strategy that might take a few attempts, but it's also within this cultivating this conversation, sharing articles. I mean, some of the high school age kids, you know, if you leave an article in the bathroom, they might read it. You know, that's where I left all the books about, you know, your developing body, and they got read. So it's also looking for ways for them to gather information about why this might be helpful, or information that you want them to get on their kind of their own terms. Yeah, and I think there's choice. I want you to help me with this, because I can tell you what to do, but I don't think that's fair. You're old enough, you're at a stage now. I want to hear what you want. And 12 hours of YouTube is not healthy. And as the adult in the house, I have to tell you, that's not healthy. So I'm happy to give you YouTube time. I'm happy to give you Instagram, whatever it is. I'm happy to TikTok with you all day long. But I need you to give me these other pieces. And I want your input. I value what you're saying. I'm giving you voice. And I think that can be a compelling thing for a teen to be told. I'm giving you voice here. I don't know.
I'll echo that. If you're in that situation, speak to your child as you would as a team member at your workplace. You wouldn't go all in going this. No, you'd go in with deep breaths, knowing that you would have to use tactical conversation to stay online with the objective that you want to get, which means that you can keep your emotions in check, give the illusion of control, and work collaboratively. And exactly like Micheline said, is let them make all the decisions to do their way first, and ask them what are the goals you want to achieve by doing it your way, and let them do it. And best case scenario, they prove you wrong, so you can learn that your child has a different way of studying. And worst case scenario, they fail, but at least they've had the experience that my way failed, so now I'm more receptive to listening to mommy and daddy. And either way, you're getting what you want in the end. You just have to restrain with patience, because quite often we play the short game. We go so super fast, and if we don't get it straight away, our brains just explode. So it's playing the long game with patience.
That's exactly that. Well said. We go for the short game, and when you're going for the short game, you lose sight of the long.
Yeah. Everyone's a loser in the short game.
Yeah. So.
Well, both of you have shared so much valuable information, a lot of food for thought for us to think about. What would you leave us with? Like, what, three reminders or three takeaways that you would like us to really remember now, when we're thinking about the mental health of our children during this period?
I think three takeaways is, one, there's no right way to do it, and check yourself on that. There's no right way. So you're not going to do it wrong. You can't do it wrong if you're doing it with thought, self-awareness, and care, right? And that love. And that's where we're all coming from. And so I think then within that, you're not going to do it wrong, but you need to attend to self-awareness, and you need to be able to have those dispassionate moments, to step back, almost observing, to disengage, so that you can handle it with less emotion and less of the personalization that can come. And then just being real. I think communication. And I think now I'm on to 5 things, so I'm done.
You're on the roll, girl.
Thank you.
Keep going.
For me, they're just simple things, like if you're unhappy at home, change things. And the first step in that change is probably do the opposite to what you've been doing. The second thing is give yourself some love. And for all the parents that are here with us, if anybody hasn't told you in a while, I just want to say thank you. Like, thank you for being you, the most overworked, underappreciated job in the world, where everything you do is always wrong and you carry mommy and daddy guilt with you like every second of every day. I just want to say thank you. Thank you. And the last thing is that the most important, remember back to, you know, when if you had that your son or daughter in your tummy, or you were talking about having kids, and then you had kids, like the most important thing was that your child would be happy and healthy. And then, you know, the most important thing was that it would have a bowel movement, and then that it started to walk, and then, you know, that it got on a plane and you didn't annoy all the other passengers. Like, what a great success. Like, these are the things that matter. Your love without judging your child is what matters. And if you have gotten lost in the noise of grades and college and career and academics and all that stuff that is not as important as what I just shared, then I'd really encourage you to have a conversation with yourself, a friend, your partner, and re-audit the family values that you prioritize as meaningful to you.
Perfect.
And something we haven't mentioned, am I muted? Something I think we haven't mentioned, and could be a whole nother series, is that communication with spouse. You know, because that is going to be hopefully your partner in this, and that can be really difficult when you're at odds and looking at different paths. And so the work that might be needed might come to the surface, or they could be a really helpful support and strength, or they can help divide the work of, I'm really good at this when the kids need this, and you're really good at that when the kids need that, and looking to optimize your team, right? Again, stepping back and being able to see it and use that self-awareness even on that relationship and what both people can play. But communication again.
Yeah.
Great. Well,
Wow.
thank you both. Yeah. Thank you both so much for all your information. Just beautiful words. I think there's just been a lot of inspiration and a lot of things to really think about and talk and prioritize in our own minds to be able to share with our children. I would just like to close in saying that, if you'd like access to some of the resources, Micheline has fantastic writers. She shares a lot of articles. She sent me a great article the other day just about asking questions, like what are the right questions to ask your children. And so we're happy to share her resources. Thank you, Micheline. And you can find Laura and more of her wisdom with Darkness into Light. You can follow them on Instagram. I can see that they're very active on Facebook, holding sessions for parents and having lots of discussions. So that's another great platform to visit. Thank you for that, Laura.
And I linked Lightness into Dark on the resource page. It's on there, so then you don't necessarily need to search around. I just linked it.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're going to have everything on the PTA section of our website, hopefully by the end of the week. It is a busy week for us because we are graduating a class of 2020 on Thursday, but we are super excited to share this work of the PTA Mental Health Committee, and all 3 series will be available on that section of the website. So I personally want to thank again the PTA Mental Health Awareness Committee. You guys are amazing. Rolana, Rhea, Miran, Dana, and Kristen, for bringing this to our community, especially in a time when it's needed. This is the last day of Mental Health Awareness Month of May. And so I am proud to be part of this community, and thank you guys for your efforts as we're finishing school. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.